All right, let's get into it. Hi there, it's me, it's Mike, and this is always my favorite and least favorite video to do every year. Plus, it's historically my best performing video of the year. Fun fact, 2023 was the line's 10th anniversary, and while Hasbro didn't really seem to want to celebrate that, I wanted to at least mention it. As someone who's collected the line since 2013, I've seen all of the ups and all of the downs, the best and the worst the line has had to offer. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that 2023 has been the absolute best year for the Black Series, and it's not even close. So let's take a look at the last year to put my top 10 list into perspective, because that's something that every top 10 list needs. Context and perspective. For those that don't know or don't listen to my podcast, Black Series Cantina, available on any podcasting platform, I keep a spreadsheet every year of the figures that came out that year. In this last year, we had 99 Black Series releases by my count. Now, that might be different to your count because the end and beginning of years is always a little muddy, and there might be some that I got that you didn't last year or this year, so it could be a little off, but my count was 99. Okay, listen, this is embarrassing. This is editing Mike here from the future. I miscounted. It's 100 figures. I just didn't have Chopper on my list because he was a figure we'd already gotten in the line exactly, and in the Rebels line before. He just now has a different box with a different number, but the same figure. So I forgot to put him on my list. So 100 figures. Congratulations, Black Series. Of those 99, 31 of them are brand new sculpts. These are absolutely head to toe, no reuse, brand new. And then 16 of those 99 were mostly new with some reuse. So that is a good number considering that the first 5 or so years of the line, we were lucky if we got 20 figures at all. So this is the part where I usually go into my worst figures of the year because everyone likes controversy, everyone likes negativity, but we had a really big year. So what I'm going to do is explain why this year was pretty big with some negative stuff thrown into it because that also makes it big. And let's start off with the thing that I wanted to talk about the most here, and that's my biggest surprises. It was a big year for surprises for me. And there are 2 figures I wanted to talk about briefly, and they had the opposite effect. The first one was the Magna Guard. I was looking forward to this the most. It's a figure from the prequels. It's a droid from the prequels. It was sorely and noticeably missing. They announced it. It looked great in photos. I was excited. In hand, I don't know, maybe my expectations were too high, but it did disappoint me quite a bit. I'm not going to say it's a bad figure, but there's a lot of ways in which it could be better. Compare that with the other side, where when they announced pre-Vizsla, I was immediately disappointed because they used that old Jango Fett body that is terrible. Every figure they've made that into, all the different Mandalorians have been terrible. However, getting it in hand, it was weirdly better than I expected. Maybe because my expectations were so low and it met and exceeded them. I wouldn't call it a good figure. It still has all the same problems that mold has, but it's cool looking. When you put it on a flight stand, it looks great. It was also a big year for, why did I buy this? And what I mean by that is it felt like a very expensive year, or that there were figures that were more expensive than they should be that I purchased. The biggest one for me, and the one that felt the slimiest, was Jabba the Hutt. I bought him, I paid full price for him, and yet he's still sitting on my floor in the corner over there in his box. I bought him because he came with the hookah and the railing that I never got from my original release that I still have on the shelf, and I thought, I need those. And yet I still haven't opened it, and it feels gross. It was also a big year for figures with too few or no accessories, and the two big ones here are Mon Mothma and Morgan Elsbeth. Mon Mothma is a figure we've needed in the line for a while. I mean, she's not a big character, but she's a noticeable character, to say the least. And they could have come with anything. I bought some little champagne glasses off Etsy to give to Mon Mothma because they're scaled to fit with her, and she looks great. And that's one of the things she did in Andor was she drank. So why not? It looks good. And then with Morgan, I actually bought a very cheap Scarlet Witch and put her hands on there to give her some better hands. And then I have my co-host from Black Series Cantina, Zach, he's printing me a plinth from Landspeeder Luke. Again, these are things that should have come with those figures, and I shouldn't have to resort to buying or making or getting someone to make me other things for them. They should have just come with it. Anything. It was also a big year for figures that were the wrong color or the wrong size. Now, wrong color is pretty obvious. You might have seen these around, but Merrick and Huyang were both the wrong color. There's a lot of reasons why things could be the wrong color or size. Hasbro and the people that work on these lines would never set out to make a bad or wrong figure. They wouldn't do that on purpose. You know, there's got to be some reason for it. Oftentimes they get early pre-production photos and things to use for making, you know, their toys, and then they get changed. So what we see at the end isn't what they got models or, you know, references for. So that's a big thing there, and I think that's pretty accurate and probably what happened with Merrick and Huyang. But, you know, the wrong color I can overlook. It's not that big of a deal for me, and it's kind of easy to repaint, but having figures be just the wrong size is a pet peeve of mine, and that sucks because Balin should be a lot taller, Shin should be a lot shorter, and you can fix it if you want to buy other figures and take them apart and take these apart and mix and match them. That's too much work. I can't be bothered. It sucks, and it does kind of kill those figures for me. This was also a big year for some experiments that Hasbro tried that didn't work out well. The first one is the Holocom line. It was cool when it was rumored. I was very excited for the prospect of it, but when they revealed it, I don't think the execution was great. I think the characters they chose weren't great. I could think of a bunch of different ways they could have made it better. As it is, I bought one just to experience it, and I have no interest in buying any other from the line. It's a big miss for me. But another thing that they did this year, which was cool, but also doesn't kind of work, is they did force gesture hands that are also designed to hold a lightsaber. They did this with Starkiller and Ahsoka Tano, and it's cool, especially because they do it in whatever their entertainment expression is. I died a little bit saying that. You know, they're often holding lightsabers and using the Force, but the problem is when you do a hand like that, it makes the lightsaber not stay in the hand very securely, and they always fall out, and that sucks. So cool idea, bad execution, or just didn't work like they wanted it to. It was, however, a big year for articulation points. Mainly, we had more use of ball-jointed wrists. That was debuted last year with the Figrin Dan mold, and this year we saw it a couple more times. But a new point of articulation that I hadn't noticed before was a ball-jointed butterfly joint, meaning that it doesn't just move back and forward, but it kind of moves up and down or all around too, giving you a wider range of movement. That one. Now that's cool, but you know, Hasbro giveth and then Hasbro taketh away, and they did that by removing the thigh joint off of some figures. I don't really care that much because I haven't really come across a pose I couldn't do with a figure without it, but it does suck that there are newer figures coming out that are missing thigh cuts. It's weird. It is weird. And so those are the reasons why I thought this year was a big year, but let's talk about the reason that you came to this video, and that's for the top 10. That's the reason I'm making it. Top 10s are what sell. People love top 10s. Now, this was the hardest top 10 that I've done in a long time, years. I actually had a version of the top 10 I did sort of bracket tournament style, but I had a couple of big hitters get knocked out in round 1 because they put him up against other big hitters and it was really tough. So I nixed that idea. It was a cool idea. It didn't work. I mulled over this list for so long. My wife even asked me if I was okay. She asked me if I needed to see a doctor. I should really stop making lists on the toilet. So because I had so many figures that I want to talk about, these are the figures that I wanted to mention that aren't in the top 10. I'm mentioning them, and I'm mentioning them honorably. Starting with number 15, Star Killer. Now, whether this is the Hasbro Pulse set or the mainline release, it's just about time we got one in the line, and it was cool to see. Number 14, we got Wicket. Either release, he's so cute, but he's so small. I did a review. Number 13 is Darth Malik, a figure I thought for sure would be in my top 10. I even said so in the review I did of it. Go watch. Number 12, Darth Maul, old master from the gaming greats. It's just a better version of last year's Season 7 Clone Wars Maul, which was my top figure last year. I love this Maul more than that Maul. This is my favorite Maul in the collection, and he's sitting at number 12, which is nuts. And number 11, it pains me to put him here, but Doc Onder. I never thought we'd get a figure like this in the line, and he's an Ithorian, which means that we're gonna get Mammon Naden, which has been on my wish list for a while, and he's great. I mean, he really is great. He comes with a lot of stuff. So that brings us to the proper top 10, the top 10 you've been waiting for, and number 10 is Chrysanthemum. I had a hard time with this one. He and Doc were neck and longer neck and swapped back and forth a bunch of times. But in the end, I just really friggin' love Chrysanthemum. Is he perfect? No, not really. But the fact that Hasbro gave us him after that disappointment that was last year and all new knocked it out of the park in terms of looks. I recorded a review that I might actually get out at some point in the next little while. But just to sum it up, I do wish he came with more stuff. I wish he had a little bit better articulation. But other than that, I love the absolute pants off of him, which is why he's not wearing pants. True story. Number 9, we have Hera Syndulla from Ahsoka. Admittedly, of all of the Rebels characters that made the jump to live action in Ahsoka, Hera was the one I had the hardest time with because I just saw Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I didn't see Hera, which is a problem because I want to see Hera. But by the end of the show, that kind of fixed itself for me. I saw Hera. Hera's great. And this figure is perfect. I love Hera as a character. I love this figure. She's simple. Love the bomber jacket. She works so well. And she has everything where it counts. She's perfect. All of her. All of her. Plus, she's got those ball jointed wrists that I talked about, and that's great. And she comes with cake. Did I just mention the cake? Oh, I'm so sorry. Also, I kind of did a video on her. Number 8, we have Cad Bane. Now, the biggest surprise for me from Book of Boba Fett was getting a live action debut of my favorite bounty hunter, and that is, of course, Cad Bane. We got 2 of them this year based on Book of Boba Fett. The one on the list, though, specifically is the one from the Target exclusive 2-pack with Cobb Vanth. And that's because I'm not going to put them both on there, although if you get the other one, it's not terrible. I just like the face better on this one, the paint better on this one, and this one comes with blast effects, which is really, really cool. This one's my jam, and I did a video on it if you want to go watch. It's nice to be able to say that because last year I did a video on like none of them. Number 7, we have Ahsoka Tano from the Clone Wars Season 3. If I ever said that we have too much Ahsoka, that doesn't count for this one. The Season 3 Ahsoka is perfect. Mine also, though, does have a couple different paint blemishes, and her hand has that weird molding issue I talked about, which kind of makes it hard for her to hold a lightsaber. Plus, I mean, like one lightsaber is really weirdly long compared to her small body, but other than that, she's perfect, and I love her. She is a treasure, and I will treasure her. Number 6, we have Appo, or just the Clone Trooper. I couldn't decide which one because they're the same figure. One just has blue paint on him. But if you told me, even last year, that we were going to get a mostly new mold for Clone Troopers again, less than 3 years after we just got an all new mold for Clone Troopers, I should say, I would actually believe it because Hasbro's pretty weird like that. They do weird stuff like that all the time. But luckily, Hasbro absolutely knocked it out of the park with this figure. If I had to choose one of the two, I would make it Apo, because he doesn't have that weird 5 o'clock shadow that the regular version does, although I've seen versions that don't have that. But I also do like the blue from the 501st, even though people say it's the wrong shade of blue. I'm colorblind. I can't tell the difference. So win for me, finally. Anyways, I also got Apo first, so that one wins. Number 5, top 5 now. We got Darth Vader's. There were 3 Darth Vaders that came out this year, and Darth Vader is one of my favorite characters from Star Wars. I think that's a pretty boring opinion, because he's a lot of people's favorite character, but he's so great. And we got 3 this year. First, we got a red one to go along with my Vader Painbow, or I call it my Power Rangers team, but I think Painbow is kind of a cool name now that I think about it. We also got an update to the very first Vader released with the removable helmet Darth Vader, and that one's great, but he has his flaws, and it's not the best one. The best one is the Duel's End Darth Vader from the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Whatever feelings and thoughts I might have about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show overall, the duel between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi is peak Star Wars. It's some of the best Star Wars we've ever gotten, and I will stand by that. It was amazing, and now we have a Vader to go with that, and I love it so much. Hasbro knocked it out of the park with all the detailing and stuff there. I keep saying knocked it out of the park. They keep knocking things out of the park. It's gonna come up with a new idiom. This figure will commemorate the time that Vader got absolutely effed up for all time, because plastic literally takes thousands of years to start breaking down. So it'll be around for a while. Number 4, we have Darth Malgus. Honestly, I'm so surprised that this is so far down the list. I expected it to be a lot higher, but here we are. Number 4, and it's still respectable. He is a big, sassy Sith from the MMORPG Star Wars The Old Republic, which I played for a long time. And I did a full review on this. So if you want to get all my thoughts on it, go watch that, because I could talk for a long time about Darth Malgus. If you want to know more about him, you can go check out those videos I linked, but also, buy this figure. He's sassy, he's big, and he's so cool. And that's enough. That's all you need. Number 3, we have Luke Skywalker, specifically the Jedi Knight one. What would a top 10 list be about the Black Series that doesn't include Luke Skywalker? I mean, it would be my list from 2016 and 2018 and 2019 and 2021. And I think also 2022. So basically, I've made a lot of lists without Luke Skywalker. I don't actually put him on there very often. So it means a lot when I do, is my point. We got 3 Lukes this year. And if the Rancor had funded, we would have had 4 this year. I guess small favors. But it didn't, so we don't. Every Luke we've gotten this year has been basically an absolute banger, better than the last. I was sure each one was going to be on the list as it came out. The Imperial Light Cruiser one from Mando was the beginning of the year, and he was great. Then we got the Book of Boba Fett one with the Grogu, and he has like a ninja karate outfit on, and I love that one weirdly even more. But then we got the Jedi Knight one from Return of the Jedi, which was an update from the 2014 mold, but it's all new. It's even, it's not a reuse. There's not a lot of reuse on it from the previous Lukes that came out this year. In fact, none of them have been really. So that one makes it on here because he is just he's so good. The likeness, the posability, nobody even comes close except for, the 2 spots ahead of him. But seriously, it's just a good figure. It's really good. It's good. And for my second figure, number 2 spot of the year, this was tough. This was really tough. And it might be a little controversial because it's so new, but it's the Mandalorian from the Gravis Ringworld, I think it's called. I'm not going to look it up. But it's the new one, the all new one with the brand new sculpt. I mean, say what you will about the Book of Boba Fett, but it gave us one of the better Mandalorian episodes that we've ever seen. I mean, seriously, it goes to that ring world. He's doing the whole bounty hunting thing, has that rad fight with Paz Vizsla, takes a space bus to Tatooine, builds a new ship. It was a cool episode for being Book of Boba Fett. And Hasbro used that as an excuse to give us a brand new head to toe, all new everything Mandalorian, and he is just perfect. The silhouette is perfect. He moves great. His accessories are great. Soft goods cape, finally, great. Knife, finally, great. Is he perfect? No. But he may as well be, honestly. I actually took him with me to Christmas to my parents' house so that I could get more time with him to make sure that he really belonged on this list and not just on there because he's just the most recent figure I got, which is always that recency bias. But no, he earned his spot on this list. And before we move into the number one spot, I know I'm just dragging this out. I've got a list of sleeper hits. These are figures that I don't think anyone's going to put on their top 10 lists this year, but they're figures that if you don't own, I'm recommending them because they're good toys, regardless if you're familiar with the character or it just seems boring to you. It's just a good figure. We've got Mara Jade, the Pike Soldier, the Fourth Sister, and Velsartha, and then also Bastilla Shan. Fourth Sister and Velsartha were actually on my top 10 list for most of the year. Sadly, they didn't make it, but don't sleep on them. So my number one figure, and that is R2-D2, and then to a lesser extent R5-D4, but we'll get to that. Finally, we have a figure that hasn't left my desk since I got it. And that's not just because I don't know where to put him in my collection on my shelves. I have a pretty good idea, but I haven't felt the need to actually want to do it because I've wanted to take a look at him every day on my desk. He just looks perfect. You look at him, you get those warm, fuzzy R2-D2 feelings. The very first R2 was released in the very first wave of the Black Series back in 2013. This is a 10-year update. I've had to spend 10 years looking at that too small R2 and all the other 10 figures that has spawned from that mold, all being equally too small, and it's been irritating. So now they fixed it, and now I get to rebuy all those figures all over again. And you know what? Bring it on. I mean, it's so good they released it once in the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi package, and then also again in the Mandalorian. And I contemplated buying both. I haven't yet, but I thought about it. I know a lot of people that did. I love the painting. I love the detailing. I do wish he was a little bit more weathered, but that will come. There will be a weathered version. I will buy the weathered version. But for now, I love that he comes with all his little appendages. I love that they store inside him because R2-D2 will put anything inside of him. And now I finally have an action figure that represents that. There's also R5-D4. He's not really on the list, but I wanted to mention him because he does use the basic same body. Seriously, there were so many good figures out this year. It was just really hard not to talk about, more figures into this list in different ways. I could just record myself in the background saying names of figures just to get them on this video because I like them and they're all figures that have been on my list at one point or another. And it was tough taking them off. So if I've been doing that in the background, good for me. I figured out how to do it. I hope that you enjoy it. Now shut up. So that's my list for 2023, another year in the books. And here is to the next year of Black Series figures. I hope that we get half as many good figures as we did this year. And that just means mostly because it'll save me money from not having to buy as many figures because it was an expensive year. Anyways, let me know down in the downstairs area. Did you get anything? Did you bow out this year? Did you just start collecting this year? I love to read and respond to comments as I can. I'd also love to take a moment and thank these people here for supporting me on Patreon. If you want to get your name on this list and be a really cool person, you can join my Patreon. There's a link downstairs. But if you don't want to, it's also okay. Still very much thank you for getting this far. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button if you like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more. Share the video if you want to send it to other people. I don't know. Listen to my podcast, Black Series Cantina. We're literally anywhere you want to listen to us. If you want to hear more from me on a more regular basis, I'm there. And with that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.